Society needs to set up and actually make sure that we have some form of governance in cyberspace. So along with the paradigm shift of cyberspace, we also have to factor in that what happened in the real world impacts in cyberspace and what happened in the cyberspace impacts on the real world. So there is an interdependent, symbiotic relationships between the two. What we want is all of the governance, the good practice, the society goods that we have in a real world context. We need for that to be reflected in cyberspace. Otherwise, real world order, societal order, familiar orders is going to be challenged. And this is not about regulations. We cannot legislate our way out of the problem. Why? Because the dominant and the technology is evolving at a pace that we cannot keep pace. I often hear about the good aspect of SNS, such as worldwide connectivity and real-time information sharing. However, we think we should not underestimate the current and potential problems in SNS. We need to use caution and be vigilant. For instance, cyberbullying is a big problem. By using SNS, it's easy to harass others by posting memes or slanderous things. Harassing messages and indecent images can be broadcast to the entire cyber world. It can happen anytime around the clock. It can also be done anonymously. SNS can be as sinister, baneful, unacceptable behavior like cyberbullying. We do not get enough to the true person-to-person interactions. To make matters worse, the time spent on SNS often occurs during working hours, whether at work, on the train, at the movies, or along the street. People are almost constantly accessing SNS. They are paying no attention to either the people or the activities going on around them. Some people bumping into others or fall off the train platform while online. Many people eventually promoted the benefit of SNS because they allow us to connect with each other, create personal websites, sharing information, and so on. But there are a lot of other concerns to consider. Without knowing that we have been manipulated, we have to have a paradigm shift to understand the cyberspace as a place, as an environment. This is somewhere where people go. This is somewhere where the children are growing up. The military are already there. The military have created the military constructed of cyberspace. And normally military first, business the next, society the third. So the military have already conceptualized the space, acknowledged that the battle of the future are going to be fought on land, sea, air, and on computer networks. So the first paradigm shift is cyberspace as a place. If a social media is our primary source for news and other information, we could end up in a filter bubble, which is when we isolated ourselves from new information and engaging with people who have different perspectives. If we manage to stay in a bubble of harmful misinformation, it can damage the relationships and even be dangerous. One of the major concerns and disadvantages of Facebook has to do with Facebook privacy. It has created a lot of buzz due to sudden changes, but now Facebook has simplified its privacy settings. Another thing is to consider has to do with the availability of personal information, whether it's in video, pictures, or text. Never give up too much personal information. All throughout the internet, we should always keep in mind the privacy of our personal data. After it's placed online, we lose all control. Sometimes a fake profile. There is no limit to these profiles. Most of them are created by stalkers or marketers looking to gain more friends and use it for their marketing purpose. Focus on using social media for all the good point, outlines, and its art, but be wary of falling the victim to the dark side of the online interactions. So many people now on social media tweeting links and posting selfies and sharing YouTube videos. It sure can get pretty noisy, becoming overwhelmed by too many Facebook friends to keep up with, or too many Instagram's hobbies to browse it through isn't all that uncommon. Over time, we tend to a lot of friends that are followers, and that can lead to lots of bloated news as a feed with too much content we are not all that interested in. For people struggling to fit and reach their peers, especially teens and young adults, the pressure to do certain things or act a certain way can be even worse on social media than it is at school or any other offline settings. In some extreme cases, the overwhelming pressure to fit in with everyone posting on social media or becoming the target of the cyberbullying attacks can lead to serious stress, anxiety, and even depressions. How often do we see someone look at their phones? People get distracted by all the social apps and news and messages that they receive, leading to all sorts of problems like distracting driving or the lack of gaining someone's full attention during the conversation. Browsing social medias can also feed procrastination habits and become something people turn to in order to avoid certain tasks or responsibilities. We have to think about environmental psychology. So environmental psychology is the science of the impact of environment and behavior. So you grown up in ghetto in you whatever or in a very bad household that impacts the behavior and the developing child. But we need to think about the developing child environmentally growing up in a cyberspace and how their behavior is changing. When we understand it, we cyberspace is an environment, then we have to think about how human behavior mutates and changes in cyber context. Theoretically, constructed like online disinhibition effect, anonymity online, psychological emergence in the space. This complex matrix of factors changes human behavior on this domain. We have to think about the entities that operated in cyberspace, for example, the social technologies companies and their role in impacting human behavior and the domain. So when we talk about addiction and devices, there are a much bigger jump into actual understanding the domain in which addiction manifests in understanding the design. Facebook has helped to create a brand for many individuals and businesses. It's a major source of entertainment for people around the globe. Social networking has changed the way we communicated. The business get our daily news fixed and so much more. But is it really all it's cracked up to be? Where we put the advantage and disadvantage of Facebook is used on the right proportions and with proper care, it can be a powerful tool for marketing and networking. Any online or offline business can leverage the power of Facebook for business success. One of the most widely used marketing tools today is the business world. While there are some advantages, they can be overcome with some knowledge about the platform and a little bit of self-discipline. That depends on who you talk to and how you're using it. A site like Facebook could serve as an opportunistic launching pad for a new business owner, or it could be an inescapable source of negative peer pressures for a young team. There are pros and cons to everything in life, and that increases our social networking habit. Most people who know how to use a computer and the internet have profiles on Facebook. Moreover, it's easy to find like-minded people by seeing their internet, and we can easily connect with them using the word updated, private message, and the video chat. Facebook is one of the largest sites in the world, where we are not only allowed but encouraged to connect with everyone. Anyone can take advantage of the Facebook to maintain a good relationship with others who identify it with certain tastes or products. This is very important because as a business that we can sell or promote product services to a highly targeted audience, thus increasing the possibility of making money on the internet. Facebook allows the establishment of partnerships between various projects, brand values, and the social media presence for their businesses. If used properly, Facebook can help us find new leads and clients. It's no secret that there is also the dark side to social networking. We may want to ask ourselves how we can minimize the pros and cons of social networking as much and as often as possible.